It's round 2. Ding, ding. Let's see if we can make it.
Try it again, huh?
All right. I mean, come on now. Come on. Okay, it looks like we're not buffering there. D-Live's good. YouTube's good. Twitch says it's good. Foxhole looks like okay. Everybody, we're gonna try this again.
All right.
I don't know what happened last time.
My prayer in chat got cut off, so I'll just reiterate what I put in chat that got cut off on a couple of the streams here. It says, may the good Lord bless this broadcast and keep our lines of communication open, and may no hex, vex, sorcery, spell, or otherwise come against us during this time. May the Lord strike down these spirits and tread them asunder and make them as his footstool. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name, amen. Get that out of the way.
There we go. And say hi to the people. Okay, YouTube side. Linda Poor, Deanne, Biblical Smackdown. That's a good Anon name. John Pierce, Eastward in Eden. That's kind of cool. Militia 1688, Monkfish, Elmer, Zen. Hello, Zen. Okay, Caffeine Addict. There she is. I don't know if she's back or if that's from the last time. I want to start and then hang on. Let me look at D-Live. D-Live Light Switch, Cable O, Chad Mad, Annette Walls, the Farting Boogeyman. Oh my God.
Yep.
That's Penn Sater. All right, Captain Kirk. I don't know if he's back, if that's him again. The Farting Boogeyman. Some of these names. Okay, PJZ Warink are crazy. Okay. So all right. I'm gonna start out today. It's Easter. So happy Easter. Happy Easter.
Happy Resurrection Day.
Yeah, I feel like it's fitting that of all the things, by the way, it's ironic that I found, I tried to look really hard for a really good story, like who did a decent job of it. This uses a lot from the Passions of the Christ. I don't know if you guys have ever saw that. If you've not, it is worth it. It's a good movie. I mean, regardless how you feel about Will Gibson or what, I saw it when it was in theaters. I got front row, and I mean, it's a tearjerker. But of all people, Rick and Bubba, and this is from last year, by the way, which is kind of crazy. But they did something like on that Good Friday, and it's I'll just show you what I have. This one, and then I have one more, but I'll let Breaking tell you some stuff before then.
We take time to remember Good Friday.
Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Now the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations.
The Gospel according to Mark.
Immediately in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. And they bound Jesus, led him away, and delivered him to Pilate. Then Pilate asked him,
Are you the king of the Jews?
It is, as you say.
And the chief priests accused him of many things, but he answered nothing.
Do you answer nothing? See how many things they testify against you?
But Jesus still answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled. Now at the feast, he was accustomed to releasing one prisoner to them, whomever they requested. And there was one named Barabbas, who was chained with his fellow rebels. They had committed murder in the rebellion. Then the multitude, crying aloud, began to ask him to do just as he had always done for them. But Pilate answered them,
Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?
For he knew that the chief priests had handed him over because of envy. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd, so that he should rather release Barabbas to them.
What then do you want me to do with him, whom you call the King of the Jews?
So they cried out again.
Why? What evil has he done?
But they cried out all the more. So Pilate, wanting to gratify the crowd, released Barabbas to them. And he delivered Jesus, after he had scourged him, to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, and they called together the whole garrison. And they clothed him with purple, and they twisted a crown of thorns, put it on his head, and began to salute him.
Hail, King of the Jews! Hail, King of the Jews!
Then they struck him on the head with a reed, and spat on him. And bowing the knee, they worshipped him. And when they had mocked him, they took the purple off him, put his own clothes on him, and led him out to crucify him. Then they compelled a certain man, Simon a Cyrenian, the father of Alexander and Rufus, as he was coming out of the country and passing by, to bear his cross. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated, place of a skull. Then they gave him wine mingled with myrrh to drink, but he did not take it. And when they crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them to determine what every man should take. Now it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him. And the inscription of his accusation was written above, "The King of the Jews." With him, they also crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and the other on his left. So the scripture was fulfilled, which says, "And he was numbered with the transgressors." And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying,
Aha! You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross.
Likewise, the chief priests also, mocking among themselves with the scribes.
He saved others. Himself he cannot save. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe.
Even those who were crucified with him reviled him. Now, when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying,
Elo, lama sabachthani,
which is translated,
my God, why have you forsaken me?
Some of those who stood by when they heard that said,
Look, he's calling for Elijah.
Then someone ran and filled a sponge full of sour wine, put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink.
Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to take him down.
And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. Then the veil of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom. So when the centurion who stood opposite him saw that he cried out like this and breathed his last, he said,
Truly this man was the Son of God.
There were also women looking on from afar, among whom was Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James the Less and of Joses, and Salome, who also followed him and ministered to him when he was in Galilee, and many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem. Now, when evening had come, because it was the preparation day, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent council member, who was himself waiting for the kingdom of God, coming and taking courage, went into Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate marveled that he was already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him if he had been dead for some time. So when he found out from the centurion, he granted the body to Joseph. Then he bought fine linen, took him down, and wrapped him in the linen. And he laid him in a tomb which had been hewn out of the rock, and rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. And Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joses, observed where he was laid. Now when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome bought spices that they might come and anoint him. Very early in the morning, on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb when the sun had risen, and they said among themselves,
"Who will roll away the stone from the door of the tomb for us?"
But when they looked up, they saw that the stone had been rolled away, for it was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man clothed in a long white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed.
Do not be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him, as he said to you."
So they went out quickly and fled from the tomb, for they trembled and were amazed. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Now when he rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 demons. She went and told those who had been with him, as they mourned and wept. And when they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they did not believe. After that, he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they walked and went into the country. And they went and told it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Later, he appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he rebuked their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they did not believe those who had seen him after he had risen.
Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned.
So then, after the Lord had spoken to them, he was received up into heaven and sat down at the right hand of God. And they went out and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word through the accompanying signs. Amen.
Oh, sorry, I was talking and nobody could hear me. I don't know if you guys know this, but the actor that played him, his initial in this movie, his initials were JC. He was 33 years old when he played him. He had dislocated his shoulder trying to carry that cross, and he kept on. Mel Gibson asked if he wanted to keep going because he also got pneumonia, both of his lungs filled with fluid. And at the day of the shooting, whenever they the scene where they crucified Jesus and they hung him up on the cross, it pulled on his shoulder. He said it was hard for him to breathe too because of the pressure on his lungs that were already like trying to collapse. He got struck by lightning. So like all this stuff happened to this man at the shooting of this movie. And I mean, he said he told Mel Gibson that, God, he felt like God was with him, and God, it was in God's hands. And so that you can look that up. That happened to that man in the shooting of that movie. So I just thought that was kind of crazy that happened. I got one other, but I'll let you do some stuff and if you want to.
All I gotta say is this.
Yep, Jim Cav. I can never say his name right. Cavazale. Linda said it out in chat. Jim Cavazale.
Oh, what the heck? I hate when it does this. Why does it do this? It's all wonky on me here.
It's saying you're trying to share your screen, but it's not showing it there.
Yeah, it's acting goofy here. Try it one more time. Par for the course, I guess. What do you expect? All right, one last time.
What are you trying to share?
Just my browser. There we go. Let's try this.
Okay.
So there you go. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh, I have one of my favorite songs. I'll play it in a little bit. I'll stagger it. I won't do it yet. But I mean, I've lost them so many times. I actually have stored them in like 3 or 4 different daggum servers. Like that's how much I've tried. This one I can't even find on YouTube anymore. I have to actually go to a website. But yeah.
Well,
So there's that.
Yeah, I guess while we're at it, I mean, given what today is, the forces of wickedness certainly are upon us. And old Andrew Torbo over at Gab had this to say a little while ago. Says Gab's Telegram channel was just attacked with all sorts of demonic gore and porn. Satan is furious today and sending his legions out to stir up chaos. Nothing will ruin the truth we celebrate on this day, and nothing will stop us from persevering and proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ to all the ends of the earth. And of course, while that is going on, at the same time, Twitter suspends GOP Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene shortly after she tweets Easter message, "He is risen." Twitter temporarily suspended Georgia GOP Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene's account on Sunday after she tweeted an Easter message. Rep. Greene tweeted a message on Easter morning, "He is risen, death could not hold him. Rejoice in the resurrection of Jesus Christ." And apparently that's enough to get you taken down. So Twitter suspended her after she tweeted it, and no specific reason given for her suspension, other than we have determined you have violated Twitter rules, so we've temporarily limited some of your account features. Par for the course for old at Jack and who he worships. So no surprise there. But that being said, at the end of the day, just like Ephesians 6 says, and I'll recite from Ephesians 6:10 on, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand firm against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the lords of this age, rulers of the darkness, against spiritual wickedness in the heavens. Therefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and stand fast, all the work having been finished. Stand firm, therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, which ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching in this with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints."
That was beautiful. I think what I'll do then is I'll just kind of litter my stuff in between when you get done. Hey, Charmaine, when you get done, I'll just like, this is this song that I was talking about. They're at least the ones that are like 3 minutes long and stuff. So, and since it's Easter, I think that it's fitting that we kind of, share what we enjoy and like his favorite scriptures and I'm a big music person. I love music. So this was the one I'm talking about. I actually had to go on a website and find this. It used to be easily found on YouTube, and don't ask me where it is. I know the name of the song. I know who sings it. I know all of it, and I could not find it.
Mighty is done. I step into the light of your great love. I am breathing again. You tore the bag that was on my head. I don't have to hold my breath. I don't want to fight you anymore. I don't want to fight you say you want my heart, you want my heart. You say you want my heart, you want my heart. You say you want my heart, you want my heart. You say you want my heart. I was reaching for the stars in the world alone, searching for colors and shadows. Until you came, I was living like a fighter. Never heard of the sun and the sky. What I was missing was your love, your colors, your light. My search is over now. I will not be lied to anymore. I don't want to find you anymore. You say you want my heart, you want my heart. You say you want my heart, you want my heart.
And I'll pause it there, and I'll send it out to you in chat if you guys want to if you want to listen to it or whatever. But it is one of, I have 3 of like my favorite songs. There's D-Live. Hello, D-Live. That's one of them. And so it's I also have this thing that I thought was like really crazy that I found that was, I don't know, it's a good story. I was like, when I heard it, it's like literally 3 minutes long, but it's also who's telling it. It's kind of Paul Harvey. So I'll play you this too.
It starts with a story about a Boston preacher named S.D. Gordon. Dr. Gordon placed a beat-up, bent, rusted old bird cage beside his pulpit and told the story about that bird cage. He said an unkempt, unwashed little lad about age 10 was coming up the alley swinging this old caved-in bird cage with several tiny birds shivering on the floor of it. The compassionate Dr. Gordon asked where did the boy get the birds. The lad said he had trapped them. What was he going to do with them? The preacher asked. The boy said, I'm going to play with them, have fun with them. The preacher said, sooner or later, lad, you're going to get tired of that, and then what are you going to do with them? And the lad said, well, I have some cats at home. They like birds. I'll feed them to my cats. Dr. Gordon said, son, how much do you want for the birds? The boy, surprised, hesitated. And then he said, mister, you don't want to buy these birds. They're just plain old field birds. They can't even sing, and they're ugly. Just tell me. $2? To his surprise, Dr. Gordon reached into his pocket and handed the lad $2 bills. And the preacher took the cage, and the boy in a wink had disappeared down the alley. In a sheltered crevice between buildings, Dr. Gordon opened the door of the cage, and tapping on the rusty exterior, he encouraged the little birds one at a time to find their way out through the narrow door and fly away. Thus, having accounted for the empty cage beside his pulpit, the preacher went on to tell what seemed at first like a separate story about how once upon a time Jesus and the devil had engaged in a negotiation. Satan had boasted how he had baited a trap. In Eden's garden, he had baited a trap, and he'd caught himself a world full of people. What are you going to do with all those people in your cage? Jesus wanted to know. The devil said, I'm going to play with them, tease them, make them marry and divorce and fight and kill one another. I'm going to teach them to throw bombs at each other. I'm going to have fun with them. And Jesus had said you can't have fun with them forever. When you get tired of playing, then what are you going to do with them? And Satan had said, damn them, they're no good anyway. Damn them, kill them. Jesus said, how much do you want for them? Satan said, you can't be serious. If I sell them to you, they'll just spit on you. They'll hate you. They'll hit you and hammer nails into you. They're no good. Jesus said, how much? Satan said, all of your tears and all of your blood, that is the price. And Jesus took the cage and paid the price and opened the door.
I like when I found that one was such a beautiful story. I had never heard that before. And like Paul Harvey, I don't, some of you over in the UK might not know who he is, or in other parts of the country, but he just had that voice. I don't know. I thought it was a beautiful story. So there's that. If you want to share that, I'll give that to you.
Speaking of the UK, got this little ditty this morning come through the old feed out of Zero Head. Says, brutal abuse of power watches UK police break up unlawful gathering Easter service in London. And again, given that I just got done reading Ephesians 6, this is the spirit of wickedness coming upon us at this particular time. Shocking footage has emerged showing the absurd lengths authorities are willing to go to enforce COVID rules, even after vaccines have been made more widely available, with tens of millions having received the jab. UK police invaded a church in southwest London during a Good Friday service and shut it down because too many people were in attendance. That's right, follow the rules, folks. Local reports identified that clergy and congregants at Christ the King Roman Catholic Church in Belgium, at what's a predominantly Polish neighborhood church, were threatened with a fine equivalent to multiple hundreds of dollars or possible arrest if they didn't leave. And here's the accord, apparently.
Ladies and gentlemen, this gathering is unfortunately unlawful under the coronavirus regulations we have currently. You are not allowed to meet inside with this many people under law. At this moment in time, you need to go home. Failure to comply with this direction to leave and go to your home address ultimately could lead you to be fined £200, or if you fail to give your details, to you being arrested. I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, though it is Good Friday and I appreciate you would like to worship, that this gathering is unlawful, so please may you leave the building now. Thank you.
So anyway, the article continues here. It says, the police appeared to literally burst in mid-service and acknowledged it was among the most important Christian holy days of the year before ordering people to disperse. Appreciate it's Good Friday and you'd like to worship, but this gathering is unlawful. An officer is heard announcing. Carrying forward, here's another clip. Says, here's a full video showing multiple officers disrespectfully milling about the altar area and sanctuary while threatening churchgoers with arrest. The past year has witnessed similar scenes in other churches and religious communities. It's further, no doubts, sent UK churches and Christian communities on edge over the potential breaking of COVID rules as people exercise freedom of worship. Here's another angle of it, I guess. It says, we are particularly concerned about the risk of transmission of COVID-19 virus as a result of large indoor gatherings at which people are not socially distanced and some are not wearing masks. And of course, hey, by the way, don't forget it's perfectly okay for Antifa BLM folks to coagulate and congregate. No issues there. You understand what this attack is actually on. Pasobic had this, and I'm going to jump into that article actually on how to actually deal with these petty tyrants. Get out, Nazis. Calgary pastor shouts down police interrupting church service during Holy Week. And of course, now this is how a real man handles the COVID Nazis. Arthur Pawlowski, the pastor of the Cave of Adullam Church in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, shouted down police officers who interrupted his church service during Holy Week. Please get out immediately. Get out of this property. I do not want to hear a word. Pawlowski shouted, demanding they provide a warrant. Out of this property, you Nazis. Gestapo is not allowed here, he shouted. Out, Nazi, out. Nazis are not welcome here. Do not come back here, you Nazi psychopaths. Well, so let's let this play through.
Please get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out of this property. Immediately out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property. Immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out. Out. Out of this property, you Nazis. Out. Out. Gestapo is not allowed here. Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out. Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without a warrant. Out, Nazi. Out. Out. You understand? Nazis are not welcome here. Out. And don't come back without a warrant. Do not come back without a warrant. You understand that? You're not welcome here. Nazis are not welcome here. Gestapo is not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths. Unbelievable, sick, evil people. Intimidating people in a church during the Passover. You Gestapo, Nazi, communists, fascists. Don't you dare coming back here. Can you imagine those psychopaths? Passover, the holiest Christian festival in a year, and they're coming to intimidate Christians during the holiest festival? Unbelievable. What is wrong with those sick psychopaths?
You know, you get the idea. Bottom line,
good for him. Hey, I mean, good for him.
Yeah, there's more to the story. I don't know if you want to allow this to play through, but it reminds me.
Yeah, go for it. It's a good time to see somebody stand up for themselves.
All right. Well, let's just play it through, and I'll comment afterwards.
It's beyond me. Wow. Wow. How dare they? How dare they? Sick people. Sick people. Unbelievable. We're living in a takeover, a total takeover of the government with their thugs, goons, the brown shirts, the Gestapo wannabe dictators coming to the church armed with guns and tasers and handcuffs to intimidate during Passover celebration? Well, I guess that's what it is. They want to enslave us all like the Egyptians did. They want to be pharaohs of today. That's what they're doing. Unbelievable. People, if you're not wake up, stand up. Wow, I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow if Canadians will not rise up. Look what is happening in Germany. Germany is taken over by fascism again. The wannabe Hitlers are already ruling. You cannot even leave from one city to another. It's a total lockdown. If you will not be vaccinated like a dog or a cat, you will not be able to buy or sell. You will not be able to go to school or work. Is that the future you want? Is that what you want for your children and your grandchildren? Seriously, is that the future of Canada? That's the future of Canada? Wow. Unbelievable.
If anybody wants to challenge, this isn't a battle between good and evil. I like what soldier thing, let me get back. Soldier Winter said, got the old heart beating.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
I'm not so sure I would have been so kind, because what this harkens back to, folks, if you know the story about Christ when he entered the tabernacles, when they were doing money changing in the temples, exercising in commerce and using their scales to shave off pennies for the wheats and tares and things of that nature that they were doing in exchange. He literally chased them out with a whip. And frankly, that's what it's going to take at this point, I think, to beat some skulls and basically be bold at this point in time, because again, we are wrestling against a spirit of wickedness at this point. They think that they're in the right, and they think that they are righteous, but they are not. We know that, you know that, and at the end of the day, all they think they're doing is just like back in the days of World War II. We're just following orders. We're just following orders. Well, I hate to tell you, but Nuremberg had a little issue with that. That is not a good excuse at this point. But
Well,
unfortunately, they're going to have to learn the hard way.
it's like the woman said, like here, I'll show you this hypocrisy, okay? Since we're talking about the reason why they run them out, I'll bring this portion up. It's a might have to break it into two, but this just goes to show you the hypocrisy of what these people say. You know, they all got to be woke, go broke, versus what they do. Tucker covered some of this, and you've heard about Delta and what their Delta's now acting like. Oh no.
The other has Delta, which, despite being an airline and not a super PAC, has also decided to condemn Georgia's elections bill. According to the CEO of Delta, people in the black community are upset about the law, so of course Delta is very upset too.
This is about protecting the voices of our people. When I speak to our people, particularly within the black community, we're here in Atlanta, we've got a very, very large black employee base, almost universally. They are hurt by the.
I wonder what that almost universally means. What he talked to three people. I love it when they give these blanket statements like da 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 da. So he's condemning right now the Georgia voting law, and that, you know, one of them, the fact that you have to present your ID. Da 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 da. Let's just take a gander. Here's Delta's check-in and security page on Delta. I don't know if y'all can read that or not, but it says right here, you'll be expected to present a government-issued photo identification to travel. So Delta can ask for your ID to get on a plane, but asking for one to vote in America. I mean, this just shows you that these people are nothing but hypocrites.
But at the same time, illegals coming across the border who are getting shipped to red states and various cities around the country, all they have to do is show a piece of paper without any ID whatsoever. That's happening,
so,
folks.
I mean, it's hypocrisy. I think everybody knows it. I think we're going to start calling these people, though. Like, the bottom line is people are going to have to start, like, voicing. Okay, Harry's. I mentioned this, I think, in the last show. Harry's pulled back from sponsorship of that Michael knows. He's like one of the presenters on Daily Wire, because they got one Twitter message from one person that said they can't believe that you sponsor them. It's almost like somebody in the company made a fake account just to go post that so then they could drop it. I'm telling you, one person, okay, go 10 of us tweet at Delta that they're being idiots, and then they just, oh, well, maybe we need to go back. It's like the Major League Baseball trying to threaten Georgia and say we're not going to hold the games in Atlanta because voting. Like, they literally is like this. And then that woman that came out, this in the Biden administration with Chris Cuomo on air, said that all these everywhere in America is starting to open up now. We need to, before they do it, we need to make sure that we get them, force them to use like the vaccine card, the proof of vaccines, and tell them that they need the vaccine in order to open. Because if they open before we do it, what kind of carrot? Yes, this is what she said. What kind of carrot are we going to use then to get them to do it?
No. Well, folks, I hate to tell you, but it's getting bad. It's getting real bad. How bad? Oh, real bad. Jesus was even criticized for leaving his face covering behind in the tomb today. It says the risen Jesus being roundly criticized in the media after it was discovered he left the tomb without having his face covered. Yeah, we know he's immune to death and all that, but he could at least set an example by responsibly wearing his protective face covering, said King Herod in an op-ed published in the Jerusalem Gazette. Jesus claims to be pro-life, but his actions would suggest otherwise. According to Roman authorities, Jesus' face coverings and burial linens were found neatly folded in an empty tomb 3 days after his crucifixion. Pontius Pilate had sent his platoons of soldiers to scour the countryside for the unmasked risen Savior. Says, we're just looking out for everybody's safety, said Pilate. Tombs are usually full of diseases, and we can't risk having any of that dangerous stuff like leprosy or salvation spread throughout the populace. King Herod has asked anyone for information on the whereabouts of Jesus' tournaments that he may bring him before the local health and safety commission. So yeah, folks, things are getting real bad out there.
Well, this is what
And yes, that
Brian.
is Babylon B, folks.
Well, this is what Brian Kemp, who is in Georgia, had just tweeted out yesterday about what they were trying to say about the Georgia voting laws. He said New York has 9 days. Well, this is what Schumer said. Racist voter suppression laws are now hurting Georgia voters and its economy. Georgia Republicans should be ashamed. We would welcome MLB to come play at the All-Star game in New York, where we are working to make it easier, not harder to vote. Excuse me, this is his comeback. New York has 9 days of early voting. Georgia has a minimum of 17, with an additional 2 Sundays as an option for every county. New York requires an excuse to vote absentee. Georgia does not. They're lying and they know it. But this is, again, this propaganda, this agenda that if you don't, I don't know, if it's like, it's so sickening, because if you had any wonder, I mean, I know none of y'all do, but it's like you hope that the people out there that were thinking that Biden's going to save the world, Trump was a monster, whatever, those kind of people, at least a certain percentage of them now are going, hey, like, listen, we can't even be this stupid. Okay, something's going on. I mean, the outward like fascist way that the news is working right now, and Hollywood and the music industry and the politicians, it's overtly in your face that they're just saying whatever they think they need to say in order to roll your rights back even more. They are these control freaks that they have seen an ounce of power. Again, we're listening to a person like that Fauci that shouldn't even be watching your damn dogs. This is the guy that admitted he lied to Americans. He lied about herd immunity to trick Americans into the vaccine. Hello? He admittedly, he said he lied to try and trick people into getting it. And you trust these people? Yeah, anything that comes out of his mouth you think should be taken seriously, and he has admitted that he lied to you to get what he wanted, just like most politicians.
Well, and Trump said it in his statement the other day about both Fauci and Birx. You know, they have their self-interest comes to mind here. And at the end of the day, you've heard me talk about Fauci. He's a fraud, flat out fraud. And he's of his father's seed. He's a father of lies, deception, deceit, all of it. And he can't serve two gods at the end of the day. He can either serve God or he can serve Mammon. And they have chosen their path. And it's very, very evident. Now, if you're still of the belief that the government has your best interest in mind, well, you might need to wake up a little bit and see things for what it actually is, because everything is being laid bare right now.
Well, I got a question, since we have some people in the UK in our chat, and I know that we do. I'm curious to know as well, is, you know, that the influx of the Muslim population over in the UK now, and you know that they had the bells that chime when it's prayer time for the Muslims, and we've seen the videos where they like almost block complete streets down to get out and go pray, right? What are they doing in the UK now? Are they forcing them not to come out and pray? Are you still seeing that happening, where the masses of people are coming outside and praying? I was curious about that. I wonder if they're equally enforcing these, you know, fascist laws about people in churches and stuff, because like what you just showed earlier is a clear example of, like, it's almost like look how many cops showed up. What was that, like 6-7 police officers to one church? If that's not intimidation, please show me what is.
Well, of course it is. That's browbeat. It's about submission. It's about control. It's about getting you to acquiesce to your new God, the government, folks. That's what it boils down to. It's a new religion. They want you to bow to the one world religion known as the one world government. That's it. It's a religion all unto its own. You will worship the state. You brought up Paul Harvey earlier. You know his other piece in that about worshiping the state, and his famous piece in that everybody knows, "If I Were the Devil," right? And of course,
yeah.
You know, it's exactly that. He laid it out back then, and that's coming to fruition and coming to bear right now. It's right in front of us.
Well, it's kind of like what I said in Breaking News. I've been doing this a lot lately too. Is I've been watching a lot of pastors. They're not like they're not they're no mega church by no means. Most of them go out, walk the streets, and just spread the gospel. But it's almost been encouraging. There's one guy that's doing it, and he's doing who's in Florida, but he says he's gotten so many people from all over the world that's reached out to him, asking him to come on for like one-on-one counseling, like in prayer, that he said he's never seen anything like it. Like he books like 5 a day for an hour, and the man's booked up for like the next 2 months. He says that he's never seen so many hungry people just looking for God, trying to just to get the word of God. He said this online movement, he says, is crazy. So I try to remember that as well, because we do watch a lot of this, this kind of the negative stuff and kind of the things that are discouraging. So it's just nice to remember that there are a lot of people as well going, I think they feel it. They feel it. And I mean, they have to. And this was happening. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but this was happening today. It says the maskless Pope calls for vaccines to be shared with world's poorest after leading mass in a near empty St. Peter's Basilica as worshipers gather around the world to mark Easter Sunday despite COVID restrictions. So, of course, they all followed the COVID law. They only, I think, let 200 people in there. Everybody had to wear masks except, oh, holy one here. So, that happened. Look at all of them. Like it's just, look at that. It's just, yeah. But it's like somebody said, by the way, that was hilarious. What is their name again? Ass Hat Production or something said there would be riots if police tried to break up the Muslim prayer. So does that mean that that they're still allowing them to pray in mass like before? Wait a minute. Muslims are in positions of power. They're changing laws to suit their needs. The Blunt Crusader.
Well, and to that end, yeah, they know exactly what they're doing by pushing this. And again, they're of their father's seed, but the book, the word talks about sorcery, and in the Bible, sorcery is used in a couple, 2, 3 different contexts. One of which you can find in Leviticus 19:26, Deuteronomy 18:10, Deuteronomy 18:14, 2 Kings 21:6, 2 Chronicles 33:6, and that's talking about the Hebrew word 6049 and Strong's words, talking about Anan. And then there's sorcery in the context of Acts 8:9, which is in the Greek Strong's number 3096 and Magueo. But finally, this is the one that's probably the most key, and that's mentioned in Galatians 5:20 and Revelations 18:23. That is in the Greek 5331 Strong's word, and that is pharmakia. Pharmakia being the root word of pharmaceuticals. Think of what they are pushing, folks. The very things that they're talking about is the very thing that they are telling us in Galatians 5:20, Revelation 18:23 to stay the hell away from. It is indeed sorcery.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like I was trying to read too. I was reading what Graham Simpson said. Someone named that. I didn't even think about that. That guy I watched that's all about like the symbolism. He breaks down the numbers and stuff. But it says someone named Noah attacked the White House on Good Friday. That's what, I didn't even think about that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it also just happened to be right after they had rolled back the fence line and that old Nancy Antoinette has protecting the Capitol to keep the petty tyrants and that in so that they can't be attacked while their villainous ways go unchallenged. So there's that aspect as well. But I got a little bit of a reader piece here that's, I think, fitting for today as well, standing up to old tyranny here. This piece comes by way of John Whitehead over at the Rutherford Institute, and he's released this article a number of times over the year. This year, no different. It says the church must be reminded that it is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and the critic of the state, and never its tool. If the church does not recapture its prophetic zeal, it will become an irrelevant social club without moral or spiritual authority. And that, of course, were words spoken by Martin Luther King Jr., A Knock at Midnight from June 11th, 1967. says, in every age we find ourselves wrestling with the question of how Jesus Christ, the itinerant preacher and revolutionary activist who died challenging the police state of his time, namely the Roman Empire, would respond to the moral questions of our day. Says, for instance, would Jesus advocate, as so many evangelical Christian leaders have done in recent years, for congregants to submit to your leaders and those in authority, which in the American police state translates to complying, conforming, submitting, obeying orders, deferring to authority, and generally doing whatever a government official tells you to do? I think not. I think we just saw the pastor up in Calgary do exactly what needs to be done. Says, what would Jesus do? Well, study the life and teachings of Jesus, and you might be surprised at how relevant he is to our modern age. A radical nonconformist who challenged authority at every turn, Jesus spent his adult life speaking truth to power, challenging the status quo of his day, pushing back against the abuses of the Roman Empire, and providing a blueprint for standing up to tyranny that would be followed by those, religious and otherwise, who came after him. And it continues, those living through this present age of government lockdowns, immunity passports, militarized police, SWAT team raids, police shootings of unarmed citizens, roadside strip searches, invasive surveillance, and the like might feel as if these events are unprecedented. However, the characteristics of a police state and its reasons for being are no different today than they were in Jesus' lifetime. Control, power, and money. Much like the American Empire today, the Roman Empire of Jesus' day was characterized by secrecy, surveillance, a widespread police presence, a citizenry treated like suspects with little recourse against the police state, perpetual wars, a military empire, martial law, and political retribution against those who dared to challenge the powers of the state. A police state extends far beyond the actions of law enforcement. In fact, a police state is characterized by bureaucracy, secrecy, perpetual wars, a nation of suspects, militarization, surveillance, widespread police presence, and a citizenry with little recourse against police actions. Indeed, the police state in which Jesus lived and died, and its striking similarities to modern-day America, are beyond troubling. In terms of secrecy, surveillance, and rule by the elite, as the chasm between the wealthy and poor grew wider in the Roman Empire, the ruling class and wealthy class became synonymous, while the lower classes, increasingly deprived of their political freedoms, grew disinterested in the government and easily distracted by bread and circuses. Much like America today, with its lack of government transparency, overt domestic surveillance, and rule by the rich, the inner workings of the Roman Empire were shrouded in secrecy, while its leaders were constantly on the watch for any potential threats to its power. The resulting statewide surveillance was primarily carried out by the military, which acted as investigators, enforcers, torturers, policemen, executioners, and jailers. Today, that role is fulfilled by the NSA, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the increasingly militarized police forces across the country. A widespread police presence. The Roman Empire used its military forces to maintain the peace, thereby establishing a police state that reached into all aspects of its citizens' life. In this way, these military forces used to address a broad range of routine problems and conflicts enforced the will of the state. Today, SWAT teams comprised of local police and federal agents are employed to carry out routine search warrants for minor crimes such as marijuana possession and credit card fraud. Citizenry with little recourse against the police state. As the Roman Empire expanded, personal freedom and independence nearly vanished, as did any real sense of local governance and national consciousness. Similarly, in America today, citizens largely feel powerless, voiceless, and unrepresented in the face of a power-hungry federal government. As states and localities are brought under direct control by federal agencies and regulations, a sense of learned helplessness grips the nation. Perpetual wars in the military empire. Much like America today with its practice of policing the world, war and an overarching militaristic ethos provided the framework for the Roman Empire, which extended from the Italian peninsula to all over southern, western, and eastern Europe, extending into North Africa and Western Asia as well. In addition to significant foreign threats, wars were waged against inchoate unstructured, and socially inferior foes. Martial law. Eventually, Rome established a permanent military dictatorship that left the citizens at the mercy of an unreachable and oppressive totalitarian regime. In the absence of resources to establish civic police forces, the Romans relied increasingly on the military to intervene in all matters of conflict or upheaval in provinces, from small-scale scuffles to large-scale revolts. Not unlike police forces today, with their martial law training drills on American soil, militarized weapons, and shoot first, ask questions later mindset, the Roman soldier had the exercise of lethal force at his fingertips, with the potential of wreaking havoc on normal citizens' lives. And a nation of suspects. Just as the American Empire looks upon its citizens as suspects to be tracked, surveilled, and controlled, the Roman Empire looked upon all potential insubordinates, from the common thief to a full-fledged insurrectionist, as threats to its power. The insurrectionist was seen as directly challenging the emperor. A bandit or revolutionist was seen as capable of overturning the empire, was always considered guilty and deserving of the most savage penalties, including capital punishment. Bandits were usually punished publicly and cruelly as a means of deterring others from challenging the power of the state. Jesus' execution was one such public punishment. Acts of civil disobedience by insurrectionists. Starting with his act of civil disobedience at the Jewish temple, the site of the administrative headquarters of the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Jewish Council, Jesus branded himself a political revolutionary. When Jesus, with the help of his disciples, blocks the entrance to the courtyard and forbids anyone carrying goods for sale or trades from entering the temple, he committed a blatantly criminal and seditious act, an act that undoubtedly precipitated his arrest and execution. Because commercial events were sponsored by the religious hierarchy, which in turn was operated by consent of the Roman government, Jesus' attack on the money changers and traders can be seen as an attack on Rome itself, an unmistakable declaration of political and social independence from the Roman oppression. Military-style arrests in the dead of night. Jesus' arrest account testifies to the fact that the Romans perceived him as a revolutionary. Eerily similar to today's SWAT team raids, Jesus was arrested in the middle of the night, in secret, by a large, heavily armed fleet of soldiers. Rather than merely asking for Jesus when they came to arrest him, his pursuers collaborated beforehand with Judas. Acting as a government informant, Judas concocted a kiss as a secret identification marker, hinting that a level of deception and trickery must be used to obtain this seemingly dangerous revolutionist cooperation. Torture and capital punishment. In Jesus' day, religious preachers, self-proclaimed prophets, and nonviolent protesters were not summarily arrested and executed. Indeed, the high priests and Roman governors normally allowed a protest, particularly a small-scale one, to run its course. However, government authorities were quick to dispose of leaders and movements that appeared to threaten the Roman Empire. The charges leveled against Jesus, that he was a threat to the stability of the nation, opposed paying Roman taxes, and claimed to be the rightful king, were purely political, not religious. To the Romans, any one of these charges was enough to merit death by crucifixion, which was usually reserved for slaves, non-Romans, radicals, revolutionaries, and the worst criminals. Jesus was presented to Pontius Pilate as a disturber of the political peace, a leader of a rebellion, a political threat, and most gravely, a claimant to kingship, a king of the revolutionary type. After Jesus is formally condemned by Pilate, he is sentenced to death by crucifixion, the Roman means of executing criminals convicted of high treason. The purpose of crucifixion was not so much to kill the criminal as it was an immensely public statement intended to visually warn all those who would challenge the power of the Roman Empire. Hence, it was reserved solely for the most extreme political crimes: treason, rebellion, sedition, and banditry. After being ruthlessly whipped and mocked, Jesus was nailed to a cross. As Professor Mark Lewis Taylor observed, the cross within the Roman politics and culture was a marker of shame, of being a criminal. If you were put to the cross, you were marked as shameful, as criminal, but especially as subversive. And there were thousands of people put to the cross. The cross was actually positioned at many crossroads. And, as New Testament scholar Paula Fredrickson has reminded us, It served as a kind of public service announcement that said, act like this person did, and this is how you will end up. Jesus, the revolutionary, the political dissident, and the nonviolent activist lived and died in a police state. And a reflection on Jesus' life and death within a police state must take into account several factors. Jesus spoke out strongly against such things as empires, controlling people, state violence, and power politics. Jesus challenged the political and religious belief systems of his day, and worldly powers feared Jesus, not because he challenged them for control of theories or government, but because he undercut their claims of supremacy, and he dared to speak truth to power in a time when doing so could, and often did, cost a person his life. Unfortunately, the radical Jesus, the political dissident, who took aim at injustice and oppression, has been largely forgotten today, replaced by a congenial, smiling Jesus trotted out for religious holidays, but otherwise rendered mute when it comes to matters of war, power, and politics. Yet, for those who truly study the life and teachings of Jesus, the resounding theme is one of outright resistance to war, materialism, and empire. Ultimately, as I point out in my book, Battlefield America, The War on the American People, this is a contradiction that must be resolved if the radical Jesus, the one who stood up to the Roman Empire and was crucified as a warning to others not to challenge the powers that be, is to be an example for our modern age. After all, there is so much suffering and injustice in the world, and so much good that can be done by those who truly aspire to follow Jesus Christ's example. We must decide whether we will follow the path of least resistance, willing to turn a blind eye to what Martin Luther King Jr. referred to as the evils of segregation and the crippling effects of discrimination, to the moral degeneracy of religious bigotry and the corroding effects of narrow sectarianism, to economic conditions that deprive men of work and food, and to the insanities of militarism and the self-defeating effects of physical violence, or whether we will be transformed nonconformists, dedicated to justice, peace, and brotherhood. As King explained in a powerful sermon delivered in 1954, this command not to conform comes from Jesus Christ, the world's most dedicated nonconformist whose ethical nonconformity still challenges the conscience of mankind. Furthermore, we need to recapture the gospel glow of the early Christians who were nonconformists in the truest sense of the word and refused to shape their witness according to the mundane patterns of the world. Willingly, they sacrificed fame, fortune, and life itself in behalf of a cause they knew to be right. Quantitatively small, they were qualitatively giants. Their power gospel put an end to such a barbaric evils as infanticide and bloody gladiatorial contests. Finally, they captured the Roman Empire for Jesus Christ. The hope of a secure and livable world lies with disciplined nonconformists who are dedicated to justice, peace, and brotherhood. The trailblazers in a human, academic, scientific, and religious freedom have always been nonconformists. In any cause that concerns the progress of mankind, put your faith in the nonconformist. Honesty impels me to admit that transformed nonconformity, which is always costly and never altogether comfortable, may mean walking through the valley of the shadow of suffering, losing a job, or having a 6-year-old daughter ask, "Daddy, why do you have to go to jail so much?" But we are gravely mistaken to think that Christianity protects us from the pain and agony of mortal existence. Christianity has always insisted that the cross we bear precedes the crown we wear. To be a Christian, one must take up his cross, with all of its difficulties and agonizing and tragedy-packed content, and carry it until that very cross leaves its marks upon us and redeems us to that more excellent way that comes only through suffering. In these days of worldwide confusion, there's a dire need for men and women who will courageously do battle for truth. We must make a choice. We will continue to march to the drumbeat of conformity and respectability, or will we, listening to the beat of a more distant drum, move to its echoing sounds? Will we march only to the music of time, or will we, risking criticism and abuse, march to the soul-saving music of eternity?
Wow. I'm glad you can do that. I can't do that. Read them articles like that. That stuff is like long. I'm the highlight hitter. But yeah, I mean, it kind of puts it into perspective about how they would have treated him.
Well, at the end of the day, the overarching theme, obviously nonconformity. You know, we are called we are in this world, but we are not of this world. But yet you look at the church as a whole today, right? I say that as a blanket statement as Big C, not each individual faction and everything else. We are not acting as one body, not by a long shot. Evangelicals and Anglicans and you name it, all the various sects that are out there, and they split churches over the most petty and ridiculous of things. Is that what Christ taught us? No. Do we have bigger fish to fry at the end of the day? Absolutely. How many pulpits today are you hearing talk about the injustices taking place in government? Yes, I know a lot of you will probably throw out, oh, everybody's a 501c3, fine. That's true. But at the end of the day, should we do our part? Absolutely. And we should be the truth bearers in these times of injustice and bear our cross. Yes, it's going to be painful. Yes, we're going to lose our jobs. Yes, we're going to lose our ability to put food on our plates and perhaps even go to jail. That's the cross we bear.
I'm going to say this. People are out there talking about spiced rum and stuff, so I'm going to try and liven up to listen, church, everybody knows my feelings. It's going to be quick. Church is in your heart. Your relationship with God is within you. You shouldn't let a church or denomination or a pastor come between you and your relationship with God, period. If it is that weak and if that is thin-skinned, then you need to get a better relationship, in my mind, with God. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. Because you can have pastors tell you that if you don't go to their church, you're going to hell. You can have people in congregations talk about you worse than people on the street. So at the end of the day, make sure your relationship with God is good, and then I'll give you a shot of hope here with it. Why I think DeSantis is so popular right now, because at least there is somebody out there going, you are freaking crazy if you think I'm going to demand this of my citizens.
It's important, but we always said we want to provide it for all, but mandate it for none. And that was something that, while it was advised to take, particularly if you're vulnerable, we were not going to force you to do it. So there was never under discussion any mandates to take vaccines. We will not have COVID vaccines mandated in Florida. The flip side of that, though, with these vaccine passports is it's completely unacceptable for either the government or the private sector to impose upon you the requirement that you show proof of vaccine to just simply be able to participate in normal society. You want to go to a movie theater? Should you have to show that? No. You want to go to a game? No. You want to go to a theme park? No. So we're not supportive of that. I think it's something that people have certain freedoms and individual liberties to make decisions for themselves. I also wonder, it's like, okay, you're going to do this, and then what, give all this information to some big corporation? You want the fox to guard the hen house? I mean, give me a break. I think this is something that has huge privacy implications. It is not necessary to do. We're going to have hit 3.5 million seniors that have gotten shots sometime this week, likely 75% of seniors. It's important to be able to do it. But at the same time, we are not going to have you provide proof of this just to be able to live your life normally. And I'm going to be taking some action in an executive function, emergency function here very shortly. But I just spoke with the...
And that's the gist of it. I mean, he is like Governor DeSantis in Florida. It's like he ain't taking no shit. Like he's like, hell to the no. We're not doing this. Are you crazy? What are you trying to show? Brown shirt, show your papers? It's like what you showed earlier in that video. Tim screaming at him, calling them Nazis, telling him to get off his property. Because now people don't see the correlation. People don't see the similarities of showing your papers versus showing your vaccine card. It's kind of like what happened when you saw even just the whispers about the Second Amendment, and then you saw these southern states start popping off with, now like where I live in Tennessee, then passing a law where you don't even need a permit to like carry a firearm now. It's like the down here in the South, It's like I think the governors and even the mayors know that if you won't come take these folks as firearms, then you're gonna send somebody down here to do it. And I think they have sorely mistaken and forgotten that we also supply the majority of the country with our veterans and our active military personnel. They come from the South. So you're not going to send little Billy Bob over to his Aunt Kim's house to go get her and my Uncle Danny's, 12 gauge. It ain't happening. Not around here. So like you see what's happening. It's like I don't know. It's like Nutsville has happened, and it's like that. There's a guy on YouTube. He's from Florida. He covers this stuff a lot about what his governor's doing, and he made that map. I think I showed it to you last night, where he had all the southern states like in this big green block, and he's like, "Oh, y'all up north that aren't crazy, try to figure out a way to move down south because your states have lost their minds." You know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa, we don't want them all. We want the sane ones. I mean, the ones that move down here, not try to create some blue state or whatever. But, like we like our land down here. I don't want it to look like freaking Nashville everywhere in Tennessee. No, I like being able to look out and seeing fields and fields and fields of corn and soy or whatever, farmer's land. My friend has like 30 acres. That's nice down here. We don't want our houses asshole to elbows. It's just, it ain't pretty. So, but yeah, so good for Governor DeSantis. He's pushing back. He's like, heck no. And, it's more and more people got to do it, but I don't know who is going to. It's especially when you're talking the East and the West Coast. And again, I know people that aren't in America, you guys out there from other parts of the country, it is like a completely different world where I live here in Tennessee versus what you will see in, say, New York and then California. That's why we always talk about those states like we do, like they're in different damn countries, is because they might as well be. And I throw Washington, D.C. in there as well. But like New York and California and D.C. are like in this little bubble where they think they know everything. They think they know everything that's good for the country. But then look at the states. You got freaking California with over 50% of the homeless population for the whole country. You got heroin needles laying out everywhere, outlawing plastic straws and then supplying paper straws wrapped in plastic. I mean, you got handing out free plastic heroin needles. These people are stupid. Tent cities are covering the place. People are pooping out in the middle of the street. They're doing the same thing in New York. Look at the crime rate in New York. I mean, and then look at all these same people that complain about the Second Amendment. They don't ever say anything about Chicago, but then they call everybody else racist. And then some of the stuff that's been coming out here lately about this voter laws, about especially with Georgia, some of the racist stuff coming out about that, where these people are going on TV, showing pictures of driver's license and acting like black folk can't figure out which one is their driver's license number. And you want to talk about insulting? I'm sorry, but if I was a black person, I'd be pretty. Yeah, buddy. Well, I gotta fix all this stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like it is. Yeah, I know, but I got to change the scene. Look at where we're at. See how we're looking. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, come on, people. Like, stop treating black folk like they're stupid. If I was a black person, I'd be pretty pissed off that seemingly they acting like black people can't figure out where a damn driver's license number is. All right, let me go fix the other screen. You keep talking.
Yeah, and of course, folks, while all that is going on, right, the states are fighting back against federal government overreach, the DeSantis's, the states out west. Pray for these leaders, especially. For Prayer Warrior, I sincerely hope that you guys are praying for these folks. Again, Ephesians 6 comes to mind, but the Leviathan spirit, obviously, they will browbeat people into submission. So I have no doubt in my mind that there will be retaliation against these governors who are standing up to them. And perhaps yesterday's headline, structural collapse could occur at any time. Florida County evacuates residents near imminent radioactive wastewater spill. That took place yesterday. And so is it blowback? It could be conceived as that in my mind, especially if you're eyes on. And I've even said that and alluded to that with the whole Texas situation here a couple months back as we work through the weather issues and the power offline and everything else that took place there for many of the same reasons. So again, there is going to be a blowback as these various leaders in respective states, respective counties, and that stand up to this. So do keep them in prayer.
Yeah, and yeah, that's. I was trying to figure out what dogs it played. She said hard to keep up with 505 today. I was like, oh, maybe it's because I buffered out or something. And they removed all my D-Live stickers. And that interesting. But yeah, like again, I think that it's just what I try to remember is that, to stay encouraged, that there are good things that are happening. There are people every day bringing themselves to God, and then they're, Governor DeSantis, is speaking up for the people in Florida. We got Southern states speaking up for the Second Amendment, and then we got some like comedy that we can kind of all laugh at. And I found this one. I like to kind of like make y'all laugh because it's. Oh, she said she keeps getting booted. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, really. I don't doubt it. But here, this is what he said. Came from him. I sent it in one of my feeds, and I was like, what is this? What is he talking about? And this is what happened with, Dr. Jill Biden, the scholar in the medical field. She's smarter than Ben Carson, who's a brain surgeon. But this happened to her.
It's a little much even for me. Here was it, Joe Biden, not even coming close to Si Se Puede.
So say it with me. Si Se Puede.
She's trying to say, he says it right here, what she's trying to say.
I screwed up La Quinta yesterday. Like, I get it. But this one, it's a little much even for me. Here was it, Joe Biden, not even coming close to Si Se Puede.
Si Se Puede.
So say it with me. Si Se Puede.
Si Se Puede. Look, do y'all see how many people came out to look at her? Look, it's the chairs with the circles again. There's like 8, 9 people out here. And this is the person who won the election for the president, by the way. Because, 1984 and all. I thought it was funny, though. Because she act like she's so smart. She can't put 2 Spanish words together. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I know one Spanish phrase, and I've probably messed it up with the years of how long ago it's been since I've learned it. I know one phrase. It's called El burro sabe más que tú, and it's supposed to mean my donkey is smarter than you. But I don't go into somewhere and pretend that I know how to speak Spanish either. I don't insult people like that shit. Why would you insult people and learn 2 words of their language? Like, just be honest. Be like, man, I don't want to get it. Man, dude, we don't need a translator, or maybe we can write it out, or I can sign to you. But that's just insulting to me. It's like what they were doing in the presidential run when, what was his name? Oh, Goofy Face. They were all going on the stage trying to speak Spanish, and they were like in some competition.
Oh, you're talking now.
One that changed his name. Skateboarders.
I can picture who you're talking
Did
about.
the Instagrams in the dentist office, and then the other, the Booker, Cory Booker. Are you playing the music, or is that me? What's going on?
No, that's me. Foxhole decided I wanted to take off and go.
But yeah, just don't be degrading. The toxic places I speak text message. Just be honest. Yeah, Beto Rourke. Thank you,
Robert.
You.
Yeah, the non-Mexican.
Yeah, but
the only phrase that I know, SOCKS, because it looks like socks spelled. You pronounce it the same way. Here's my Spanish for today, and I do like Mexican food, so I'm good.
Oh, you're cultural appropriating. And that's another thing. Before you go, another thing that ticks me off. It's like these cultural appropriation things. The people don't even know their history. It's like getting pissed off at white people because they have braids, but black people can go straighten their hair. We don't care. I don't think white or black people that aren't outraged if a tick crawls across your leg give a shit. And if you really care, braids, by the way, if you look into it, came from the Vikings. It originated with the Vikings. So Crimea River, I don't think there's any Vikings out here with their freaking poster boards stomping around the Capitol saying you appropriated my braids, because we don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm Native American. Somebody wants to wear some kind of native headdress. Hallelujah. Who cares?
Well, the Dems got more plans for us, so be prepared for it, folks. This dating back a couple days ago over on Gateway Pundit. Obviously, they plan to do their damnedest to scrub us from the countryside. The Dems want to cleanse America from America lovers. Darren Beatty from Revolver News was on OANN yesterday and shared some interesting perspectives on what the far left and now communist leaders of the Dem Party are doing to attempt to control America and destroy any semblance of America-loving patriots like those who voted for President Trump. Beatty shared the following. The entire national security apparatus and bureaucracy in the United States has been repurposed and redeployed domestically in order to silence and crush the energies associated with Donald Trump and his victories and his supporters. And so this latest story is especially creepy. The context for this is Senator Duckworth, who basically said we need to do a better job of identifying, vetting, and ultimately cleansing the defense sector from any employees who might be sympathetic effectively to Trump. Duckworth, what a piece of crap from Illinois. I'd rebuke her in the name of Christ.
Let's start with the FBI using sentiment analysis to keep tabs on the social media use of our men and women in the military. What is your investigation at Revolver uncovered?
Well, this is quite the bombshell piece here, and it's in keeping with a theme that we've been touching on for quite some time, which is stated very simply: the entire national security apparatus and bureaucracy in the United States has been repurposed and redeployed domestically in order to silence and crush the energies associated with Donald Trump.
And so I'll pause that there. Obviously, the OANN here. So again, Duckworth, think of the folks, Nat, that we've dealt with the last 3-4 years. The very same actors, the Don Ang Dicks, the Shifty Shifts, Nancy Antoinettes. You can bet your bottom dollar they are behind it. And at the end of the day, they think they're going to browbeat 74+ million folks into submission. Good luck with that.
I know. Well, I don't know if you've seen this. Is breaking coming out right
All right.
now.
Well, I'll break from that there. You get the idea.
Yeah. Did you know about what's going on in Florida, right? I just had up DeSantis, so I want to about that reservoir.
Yeah, I just made mention of it.
The collapse of Florida's reservoir wall will flood Tampa Bay with 20-foot wall of polluted water. Officials warn Governor DeSantis tells residents to evacuate now. I just had those pictures of it I thought was interesting because
that's the retaliation I was just talking about.
It does seem like if we're not morons, it seems like any of these governors that push back and don't fall in line, they miraculously have a state that freezes to death, and shuts all their power down. Flag. Or they've got sewage somehow, some reservoir that's probably been there for God knows how long, somehow ruptured and burst. I don't know. I mean, come on. We're not stupid here.
Well,
we're not stupid in that. No, sorry,
I was going to say it harkens back to what old Chucky Schumer said back in the day, right? We got 6 different ways to Sunday.
Wow. But it says he shipped in 100,000 bottles of water, and he's declaring a state of emergency. It was Saturday, so we'll keep an eye on this. And I don't know. It's just again, it does seem like if you're not following in line, and there's somebody out there, somebody's coming around to, and then there's some kind of state disaster. Well, I live in a great state of Tennessee. You can keep your asses in Nashville and Memphis, do whatever you want to around there. But I highly suggest you not bring your Call of Duty asses out here to the country. And if you do, please go to Centertown, ask for where Bye-Bye lives, and roll up down his driveway. And good luck. We'll never see you again. The cops won't even go down his driveway without a warrant.
All right.
That's not a joke. he's like, you ain't messing with me. And if they ask, we call him Bye-Bye. That's for sure.
All right. Well, we've let's see. This is 4's Q research here just before showtime here today. Take a quick spin through this real quick. Even people that don't want you to think about or know something by using reverse psychology are useful. Interesting. New Mexico cease and desist cap. Not sure what's going on down in New Mexico. I guess going to have to do a little research as to what's going on down there. Missouri Senate, we passed an amendment to ban COVID-19 vaccination passports. So what is that? 3 states now? I think DeSantis, what was it? Idaho or Montana was another one. Missouri now stepping up. So again, folks, pray for those that are going against the grain, because keep an eye out. Head on a swivel, Missouri, especially this next week or two, for any potential false flags. Panic at the CFR video. Interesting. Helper Anon revealed to us that the Islamo capital driver with a knife was from NCU, a short 30-minute drive from the CIA farm. Well, isn't that interesting? Huh. Grassley Cornyn call for hearings about border crisis. No, we don't need any more damn hearings. We know what's going on. Just shut the damn thing down and put it back the way it was. Continue building the frickin' wall. We don't need more hearings. Grassley or Cornyn, use your heads. What happens when China becomes #1? Video. Interesting. Twitter trending. Another big shipping bottleneck strands millions of dollars in U.S. imports off the California coast. I presume that to be the Long Beach port, perhaps. I know that they've had bottlenecks sitting out there waiting. Don't have enough trucks and folks at the ports net offload all the container ships. But Israeli consulate behind.
Hey, before you go, and I'm going to miss these. I got to say this really, really quick. Number one, a code talker said it's been there 20 years and now it's not contained. I smell a ... no joke code. Then Sadie said Callie came to Austin, Texas. Austin, now the same thing. Yep, heard that many a times. John said about pardon the swearing. Oh, you're all right. I see that. They said they played the Mary Magdalene. Gotcha. And then Facts Matter said trespassers, please carry ID so I can locate your next of kin. That's freaking hilarious.
Wow.
And then there was one more. I mean, then NWO, hey, Robert walks over. Like, no, would you? No, maybe that was it. I've read the facts man that says trespassers, please carry an ID. And it's like, and we had a sign that was like, I can't remember what it was. It was like trespassers beyond this point, might need to say a prayer or something. It just reminded me of that. Sorry, go ahead. I just thought that was hilarious. I read that one.
All right. So let's see, where did I leave off? Shipping Israeli consulate behind Matt Gaetz wrap-up smear. Interesting. Yeah, obviously there's all sorts of shenanigans going on with Gaetz. Obviously a very loud, outspoken person for Trump policies and things of that nature. Even if you remember right here a couple months ago, marching up to Idaho and Liz Cheney's neck of the woods and browbeating her. Nonetheless, the mainstream media is the enemy of the people. Absolutely. They are the PR arm of the Dems at this point. A chemical found in 1,000 processed foods may harm the immune system. The chemical called TBHQ showed potentially harmful effects in studies conducted in animals in lab dishes. No surprise. If you joined my broadcast, by the way, a little sidebar on that here. I talked a little bit about some health issues here the other day. If you get an opportunity, check it out from the other night. Did a little flashback in the old archives back to 2018, and it was interesting to see just how prophetic some of the articles were even back in 2018. And by the way, I close that out with a little bit of a personal experience as to a little flush that I went through here recently. So if you get an opportunity,
Lord,
check
keep
that
it
out.
G-rated for the love of everything.
It was all G-rated. No pictures, no video or anything like that. It just showed the book. Here you go. You guys can use it as you see fit. That's all I'll say about it. And
let's just say me and Breaking been together too long. I think he overshares even with me a little bit. And I'm like, holy, I don't need to know all that jazz.
I'm just saying, you would be surprised what your liver does, and once it
I
gets
don't want to
cleansed.
know. La 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 la. It's just colon cleanser. That's all they need to know.
It's for your
colon
health.
cleanser.
Cabal Intel acquisition and budget nominees for Pentagon were announced. Army's long-range strike vision is stupid, AFGSC chief says. Yeah, all right, well, whatever. More dollars, more wars, more military-industrial complex, par for the course. Doctors say flu cases are lowest in recorded history. Well, there's a shocker. Shocker. Color me shocked, folks. Where did the flu go? An outbreak of common colds at an Antarctic base after 17 weeks of complete isolation? How is that possible? Pregnant women face difficult choice to get China virus vaccines. Video. Yeah, keep in mind that they've already started doing studies and actually putting the jab. I forget which manufacturer it was, if it was Johnson & Johnson or if it was the Moderna or which one it was. And of course, there were severe complications. Many had stillborns and things of that nature as part of that study. Why they would opt to do that, other than the satanic side of trying to rid you of your baby, I'll never know. But again, thinking of what Billy Gates and company are a part of, we really shouldn't be surprised. Carla Zampatti, Australian fashion designer, dies age 78 after serious fall at opera. Interesting. Don't know too much about her. I work in the public school system. Critical race theory is everywhere by a delusioned administrator. Yeah, it's pervasive. Business anger grows at Biden's infrastructure plan. Top firms criticize dangerously misguided $2 trillion plan pouring billions into fixing racial inequalities. Climate change electric cars with only 5% set aside for bridges, roads, and trains. Basically, it's just a fleece job, folks. At the end of the day, it's not meant to fix the roads and infrastructure all across this land. It's intended to go to the mega cities, the blue states and cities, and that's it. It's all part of the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 plan. Follow the plan. Fauci gets grilled on COVID at the border, says he's too busy. I have more important things to do. Of course he does. Seattle Fire Department firefighters are on scene of a working fire in a mid-rise.
You've been thinking about that colon cleanse too much.
What?
You said firefighters. You've been thinking about that colon cleanse too much.
Firefighters.
You said farters. Rewind the tape, folks. Rewind the tape.
Seattle Fire Department firefighters are on scene of a working fire. Thank you very much. In a mid-rise.
Yeah, go slower. It's working for you. You said firefighters. Go ahead.
Site at 23rd Avenue South and South Plum Street. Crews working to get water on the fire. Let's see.
You got fire. It's the farters you got messed up. It's fighters, not farters. But go ahead. I'm cool.
Where's
it's funny. We need to laugh a little. It's been, it's,
maybe
see, Vernon said FF. I'm gonna have a whole damn definition for FF.
Yeah, anyway, pornography was and is a high priority mob/CIA social subversion project. Yeah, obviously you see that on the boards, especially. Strange total absence of visible ADSB military activity over the continental U.S. ADSB still showing activity over Europe, but USA 0. Plain fags on watch. More than 1 in 4 U.S. COVID deaths have occurred on Biden watch. Of course they have. And let's see, countdown day, April 3rd, 2021, 4321. That was yesterday. Even people that don't want you to think about or know something by using reverse psychology are useful. Okay, so we're batting around there. I think we've hit them all. Anyway, quick spin through as to what the Anons are digging on here on Easter Sunday. And yeah, there we go.
No, I will show you quickly. I just want to show you a little manipulation. I'm sure all you can figure it out, but this is the stuff that's fairly disgusting that you see on a regular basis when you dig into stuff like this. Okay, I'm going to show you this in real time. This article came out December 18th of 2020, and it said FDA approves Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines. Will this save the economy? Look. Approves like they have, the FDA's have passed it, right? Then this one where the FDA didn't approve the vaccine. Here's why. No, they didn't approve it. They let it move forward with that emergency declaration, like that emergency rollout. That's different than saying that they approved it. You want some more proof here? This one. Pfizer says COVID vaccine protection will last at least 6 months. Company that can now seek full FDA approval. This is on April the 1st. The other one's in December. This is how people try to trick your mind into you thinking that somebody's approved something they've not approved. And by the way, all you tech giants, you stream people, stop shutting people down that raise awareness to how the freaking media tries to manipulate words and lie to people. This article is an outright freaking lie. They're acting like that it's been approved. There's a difference between approving and allowing it to have some emergency rollout. It's also, if you pay attention to this, protection will it last at least 6 months? Well, what's your damn card going to do? So now they want to force you to get a card that says you've been vaccinated, and now they're hearing admittedly that it will last at least 6 months. So after 6 months, you still got a card. Like, this is stupid. That we're living in Dumbville. And like, you can go to the FDA to learn about emergency use authorizations for vaccines. I just think it's nuts to how they try to manipulate words. By the way, this came out today as well. Mark Zuckerberg's cell phone number is among leaked personal data from 533 million Facebook users. They're trying to say here that Facebook says the database is an old leak from an issue fixed in August of 2019. But like, I believe anything like Mark Zuckerberg has to say. He's also the guy that said he was going to donate 95% of his wealth. And then when you dug into it, all he did was create an LLC. So he moved it from one company to another company. He didn't donate a damn thing. So yeah, whatever. I don't believe anything these people freaking say, and neither should you. So, but what's funny is I saw somebody trying to get an interview out of him in one of these videos I watched, and he was like running away from him with the camera. He's like, will you talk to me? We talk to me. He's like, not on camera, not on camera. The owner of the CEO of Facebook, who thinks he has the right to all of your personal information and the right to all your personal Facebook messages and the right to all your personal conversations. So for some reason, he doesn't want to be on damn camera. Well, it must be freaking nice. I wonder, maybe, just maybe he might understand why other Americans have a feeling that Mark Zuckerberg has no business in all of our business. Stupid crap. I mean, and then I wanted to say, I do a lot of digging, and in my digging, I find a lot of stuff, and it reminds me of how corrupt like the government is, like how really bad it is. So like, if you guys want me to start trying to like even do little videos on some of this stuff, but like, this is the Pentagon declined to investigate the hundreds of purchases of CP. This is when they found out all those people in the Defense Department was downloading and using their government laptops and emails and all this. And then they ended the investigation because they said they didn't have enough money. Their resources were stretched too thin. Mind you, found over 5,000 people that were contracted or worked through the DOD that were downloading child porn, and said that they couldn't continue to investigate because they needed to use their resources somewhere else, because there's apparently stuff more important than government people, taxpayer funded people looking and trading little kids. Need I say more? It's pretty freaking disgusting. I mean, it goes all the way to like NASA, their NASA come out with some stuff. That one's a bad one. But they're older stories. If you do, comment below, like after the video or whatever, and just tell me. I have a whole database, like little different stories and stuff I pulled up. But and for some other stuff, here is first look at Melania and POTUS. You might have already seen this, but it came out today. Donald Trump, Melania, and Barron are seen together for the first time since leaving the White House, which I don't think is very true, because I saw them walking through Mar-a-Lago a couple of weeks ago, and I shared that video. So I don't really know what this means about the first time there, oh Daily Mail. I don't know if you're keeping up with your stuff, but they hear that they're walking through. There was a video. Let me reload it. Is it going to play it? This is them going through. Hang on. Them getting applauses.
Mr. President!
Pretty sweet. Florida. Oh, there was one that played, I think, after this. That was pretty cool. I'm leaving. But, like, Florida likes their POTUS, You wonder why he went back to Florida. He didn't go back to, there he is. Or they go back to New York, and of course they're gonna put this picture in there because it's real flattering for him and all. But he went back to Florida and not New York. Where most of his business is in New York. I wouldn't either. I'd want to go take my butt back to Florida too. Look what's happening in New York right now. It's not somewhere I'd want to wake up. All the people getting attacked and hit over the head, and bent down looking at their cars and getting shot and all that other crap. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that's about the gist of my stuff. I'm selling it all down right now. Yeah, Zuckerberg. There's a cute video about some people that found some puppies. But yeah, that's about the gist of it. I've got do you have anything else you need to cover?
Well, I think I pretty well hit the high points of what I had in the stack of stuff today.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I got this one thing keyed up, and I'll leave it with this. Okay, yeah, here. I'll play this one. I told you I was gonna give you one more of my things, my songs, my favorites. I'll play this for you, and then we'll sign off and tell you about it, just to try and give you on a positive note. God, it's Happy Easter. Oh.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free. Yes, I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken.